Hey Sean, welcome back. How you doing?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm great. What can I get you this evening?
I'll have some scotch.
Scotch it is. So what'd you think of the first episode?
It was awesome, man. Really good. Really informative. Great conversation.
Oh, well, thank you so much. We got a real treat for you tonight. It's going to be Janet, also known as Granny J, from Crackers, Indianapolis.
Oh, that'll be awesome. And what's your social cause this week?
So the social cause we're supporting this episode is suicide prevention. It's near and dear to my heart. And if you or anyone you know needs any help, please reach out to the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention at afsp.org.
Sounds great. I'll check it out.
Enjoy the show.
Thank you.
Hey everybody, welcome to the second episode of Oldies But Goodies. We got a treat for you today. We got Granny J. We're here at Crackers, Indianapolis. How you doing today, Granny?
I'm crazy, always crazy.
Well, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Thank you for doing this with us. Got a list of questions for you. First question. What is your first memory that you can remember in life?
You know what's funny about that? My mom asked me that question about 40 years ago.
Okay.
My first memory is the first apartment my parents had after they were married. I was born, they took me to this apartment, which was on National Avenue in West Dallas, Wisconsin. It was an apartment above a Polish tavern.
Interesting.
We lived there till I was 18 months old. My mother says, you can't remember anything about that at that age. I said, I remember walking in the front door. I can tell you exactly how that apartment was laid out. I can tell you there was no elevator. We walked down the stairs. You carried me in a laundry basket, put me on top of the piano, and the woman who owned the bar, whose name I still don't remember, fed me kielbasa, sauerkraut, and mashed potatoes.
Okay.
I wasn't 18 months old.
That's what I was going to... 18 months?
Yes, 18 months old.
What is kielbasa?
Polish sausage.
Okay.
Don't you go to the grocery store?
Well, I've always been fortunate to have some old woman in my life.
Some old woman shopped for you, cooked for you, and fed you. I got it.
Okay. Okay. Where did you grow up? What was your family like?
Well, let's see. My father's family was all from Appalachia.
Okay.
My mother was French.
Okay.
Mother's family thought they should be much more well-to-do than they were. Mother knew they were never going to be adapted.
Mm-hmm.
My father was a jerk. He passed away, and Mom and I went out to dinner to celebrate.
How old were you at that time?
Oh, he died as a senior citizen. So I was in my 50s when he died.
Oh, okay.
Let's just say he was a very abusive human being.
Yeah.
And in many regards. And I haven't heard anybody say he's missed. My mother was wonderful.
Okay.
But my mother when I was born, my mother was 15.
Wow.
My father was 20. And so Mom had no idea how to take care of a baby. And she learned as I grew up. It was interesting.
Wow. Well, sorry to hear about your father, but...
Hey, everybody's got a story.
Brothers and sisters?
I have a brother who passed away about 30 years ago of cancer.
Okay.
Matter of fact, my father, my mother, my brother, 2 grandmothers, and a great-grandmother all died of cancer.
Oh, my gosh. That's life, though, right? I mean...
Actually,
you're still
death.
Kicking. You're still here kicking.
Yeah. I don't buy into the cancer thing.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Yep.
If there's one thing about your childhood you can remember,
Mm-hmm.
you can pick one
Mm-hmm.
that the children of today do not have. What is it?
My Aunt Dordine took me down to the barn to teach me how to milk a cow. I was 4.5, 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And in the course of learning to milk a cow, I pointed the tit toward her and sprayed her with hot cow's milk in August, which turned sour very quickly in heat.
Yeah.
It was funny. I don't know too many kids today
Yeah.
that know how to milk a cow, or who at that age would have been
So walk us
given
through
that
the process.
of milking a cow? Well, Alex, you do a few things that are very similar.
Well, thanks for letting the audience.
Yeah, let's tell her how you really are. Do you honestly not know how to milk a cow?
Well, I mean, I've seen it on the movies, but I mean, is it as easy as it looks? I guess is what I'm asking.
I've watched more guys tell me they, oh, piece of cake, I can do it and not have a clue that I have guys that actually do it unless you grew up on a farm. It's not hard. If I can milk a cow, you can milk a cow. You'd have more trouble gathering the eggs when those old hens would after you and started pecking at you.
My sister actually has a chicken coop herself. She has her little kid. She gives them to me, but they got poop on them all the time.
So you wash them off. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
Do you know how to tell if an egg is good when it's first laid?
Oh, now you're really okay.
I'm going to test you.
Okay, when it's first laid?
When you gather those eggs and take them in the house to wipe the shit off of them, do you know how to test to see if an egg's good or not?
I don't.
Put it in water, stick them in there. If it floats, it's dead. Take it out, throw it away.
No kidding. So if it floats, is there like a little embryo? Are you saying like it's a little like...
I'm saying the egg's not good, throw it out.
Okay, interesting.
Cracking spoiled, nasty eggs. Rotten egg smells awful. Don't do it, Alex.
Yeah. Okay, next question.
We won't get into sheep and goats. Go ahead.
Yeah, maybe next time. Maybe next time.
Well,
maybe next time. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, what the kids have today? There's one thing you see the children, or youth. Let's just call them, say, youth. That they have today. You didn't have. What would you take back? What's one thing you would take back?
I would take all the electronics they have away from them, and I would not carry them back into history.
So no, it just hasn't done a lot of good for us, huh?
There's several things that I think have not done a lot of good for the youth of today.
Okay.
Back in the 60s, we did flower power, the hippies, let it all hang out. Some people took that way too serious. All you got to do is look at social media and realize people do not know that there are some things you probably shouldn't broadcast to the masses. Because while you're in that emotional state at the moment, that moment's going to pass. And that memory on Facebook is going to continue forever. And it's going to pop back up when you least expect it. And you better hope you were glowing and grateful and happiness and all that. Because if you weren't, all that shit comes back on you.
Well, that's some real words of wisdom, honestly.
And I will tell you too, don't post about your relationships. If you break up, you break up. We don't want to know details.
We don't want to know where you got your coffee in the morning. The whole social media thing, it's
too much.
Yes, it really is.
I think it's nice. Like, I have a few distant cousins that live out of state. It's great for saying, thought I'd let you know so-and-so graduated, remind you of such and such's birthday. Great for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But not bad for doing health updates if you need prayers or, whatever, high vibes, energy for somebody. I get that. But there's so much on social media that should just not ever be there.
Okay. Because
I'm the old G that is going to hassle you, heckle you, and remind you did it. For years, Alex, for years.
Well, I mean, ever since I've known you, it's just this year. But yes, I mean, you say it how it is. That's what I love, guys. That's why we got you here today.
Yeah.
I did want to mention something. So you mentioned the hippie. Tell us about your experience. How old were you during that time? Were you a hippie?
Oh, very much so. Not till I got out of school. I did feel I needed to graduate high school, but I went to high school up here by what was an active Fort Harrison at the time during the Vietnam War.
Mm-hmm.
So, and went to school with lots of military officers' kids and, officers from other countries, their children. So there was this competitiveness to finish school. Otherwise, I'd have been gone at 15 in my Volkswagen van and gone. And I owned 3 Volkswagen vans.
Really?
One of which was a camper van. Slept in it a lot. Traveled all over the United States by myself. I was not afraid. I'd drive Indianapolis to Miami, Miami to LA, LA back to Denver, back to Chicago, back to Buffalo, New York, come back always by myself. Pull over off the side of the road or into a truck stop, lay down and go to sleep, stop, get something to eat and go. I would die if one of my grandkids wanted to do that today alone. Seriously.
Well, okay. So what makes you feel that? What is it? Do you feel it was safer then? Because my
Yeah, I think it
grandmother on
was.
the last episode kind of said something similar.
Well, I hitchhiked in Marion County up until the I-70 decapitator, which was before your time. But there was a guy that went through who picked up female hitchhikers, decapitated them along I-70 across the country. And that's when I finally decided maybe hitchhiking is not the right thing. But I used to hitchhike all over before I had a driver's license.
Wow.
I'd hitchhike up to Hammond or Gary or Chicago.
Mhm.
But we also had the James Whitcomb Riley train from here to Chicago, which was fairly cheap. And you could get on the train here in the morning, go to Chicago, spend the whole day going to museums, shopping, go down to the harbor, whatever, catch a train back, you know.
Yeah.
And they don't have an opportunity to do that anymore. And we need light rail in Indiana. If anybody who's listening can do anything about it, it would be great.
Yeah.
You know. The other thing is we had cheap gas. When I started driving, gas on average was 25 cents a gallon.
25 cents.
But when the gas wars went on, you could buy it for 18 and 19 cents a gallon. I had a little MGB. I could put $5 worth of gas in that, drive to Lafayette and back, drive all over the city for a week. You know, kids can't do that.
Yeah, that's true.
But speaking of hitchhiking, my dad actually he hitchhiked from I told you about how my family's Mormon, and he hitchhiked from here to Salt Lake.
Yeah.
He was probably college age, and then also another similarity. My first car was a Volkswagen van.
But, yeah.
And it was a '74, so it wasn't the greatest year, but took out the middle seats, put some fuzzy carpet in there, bean bags, had the beads.
Oh yeah, everybody did that.
That was a fun time.
You know, if you were lucky, you either had a cooler or a small refrigerator to keep cold drinks in. And I guess I can say this in Indiana, there was always a well to keep your smokables in it because everybody was smoking pot back there.
Yeah.
In Indiana in the 60s, I lived up on North College Avenue before you get to Broadway. We would sit out in the morning with a joint, a cup of tea on our porch, and so did just about everybody else in that block. If the cops caught you with weed in those days, they'd make you dump it out on the side of the road, take your foot, grind it into the dirt, go away, have a good day. There was none of this, you're going to jail, you're going to need a lawyer, you're going to go through drug rehab. That all came with Biden's drug bill. But before that, it was pretty casual.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to tell you seriously, about 1968, I really figured by 1970 marijuana would be legal in Indiana. That's how naive I was.
70?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it is kind of shocking that it's still... What's going on with that?
Well, Eli Lilly's is here. Now, bear in mind, before cannabis became illegal, Eli Lilly manufactured more cannabis medications than any pharmaceutical company in the nation. And they still have a marijuana growing facility out east of town. I have to remember what city I'm in, out east of town. But when Anslinger decided he was going to make it all illegal, Lilly's fought them tooth and nail because that was probably 60% of their drug business at the time. And they lost. And after they lost, they said they would never support cannabis again, and they never have. And because they donate a lot of money in this town, in the state probably, and they employ a lot of people, we haven't found anybody in government who's willing to go up against them. Wow. Not that for lack of trying.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I know a single person that is against. I mean, even my religious family. That's
yeah.
I mean, nobody's dying.
Well,
from using it at least.
Yeah. In Marion County, I believe the law says if you have less than an ounce on you, they're not going to do anything. Now, they don't say if you got 9 pieces of paraphernalia, we won't nail you for dirty paraphernalia. The law doesn't say that.
Really?
No. The law just talks about the amount of cannabis you could have. But that's true only in Marion County. The county I live in has a law on the books that they can charge you with internal possession.
Internal?
Yes. So if you get a speeding ticket and you mouth off and they decide to drug test you and your test comes up positive, you will be charged with internal possession of a narcotic.
That's insane. Insane. Okay, move on. Next question. Do you remember? Okay, tell me about what you wanted to be when you were a child, when you grew up, and that process of what you did, and whatever.
What I wanted to do more than anything was take over my great grandfather's farm, which was down in Scottsville, Kentucky. And
Okay.
people thought that was crazy. There was no electricity in the house. It did not have running water. There was a privy out back, but it was a two-seater,
Mm-hmm.
Uh, had a barn, raised crops, animals. That's what I wanted to do. And that didn't work out because the farm got auctioned off.
Did it?
Yeah, and not to me.
Oh yes, obviously. Did he? Okay. Did he? Did he pass? Like what?
Oh yeah, he died.
He just. I mean, obviously.
My great grandfather.
Okay.
Who was born just a few years after the Civil War, but did not die till I was 27 years old.
Wow.
He was.
How interesting.
Daddy Pruitt was my buddy.
So
I loved that old man, and he was a ruthless old man. Had 9 kids. 3 of his oldest sons jumped him on the way to the barn one day. They were going to beat the hell out of him because they were tired of his shit. And he whooped all 3 of them, and they were all in their 30s. He about crippled those boys. But
I see where you get your personality from.
Yeah, I do. I've got so much rehearsal in me, it's not funny. I'd come in, slam that back kitchen door. He'd take his cane, hook my legs, pull me over. He only shaved 1 day a week. If you slammed that door on the wrong day, like 2 days before he shaved, he was going to beard your face. You were going to be raw. He never hit me. He never spanked me. He, took me out and taught me to use a shotgun, but he would take my face and rub it into his beard. I told you not to slam that door. He'd beat the boys, but I wouldn't get beat.
So that makes him born in 1868?
Right about there, maybe 69. I don't remember exactly. That's why I said a few years after the Civil War. As you get older, the dates drop away.
I'm already experiencing it myself. No need to explain.
I think about the 60s. I think, 30 years ago. Oh, except it wasn't 30 years.
So what's the biggest, your biggest risk you've taken that you got the biggest reward from out of life? Could be not necessarily financial, can be financial.
Not getting criminally prosecuted for stealing a commanding officer's horse off a military base.
All right.
And getting away with that. I was very relieved. Believe me, I was very relieved that I didn't get caught and prosecuted.
Air the dirty laundry.
That's it. That was fun. We had a good time with that.
Were you drinking? I mean, how did this happen?
Kid.
There
again in the 60s, we wore bell bottoms, had your navel showing, little tiny halter tops, walked over there. Those MPs during Vietnam War were 18, 19, 20 years old. They were away from home. You could distract them easy. 3 of us girls go over there, 2 of them talk to the MPs. Somebody goes in the barn, stable, unhooks the horse, takes it out the back way, keeps it for a week, stores it in a judge's stable for a week, and then snuck it back on base.
And okay, so
what? I wanted to go horseback riding.
Do you remember what year this was?
I do, and I'm not telling. I don't know if there's a statute of limitations on federal charges.
That's a very good point. Very good point. Okay. Let me ask you. Okay, if I was an 18-year-old kid, much barely older than that, just a few years.
Yeah. Okay.
So if I was an 18-year-old kid, I was graduating high school tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
What would your one piece of advice you would give me about entering adulthood, independence, etc.?
Adulthood sucks. Get a trade job. Don't worry about going to college. Go learn to be an electrician, a plumber, a welder, a mechanic. You know why? Because all those college grads, when they need work done, you're the guy they call. And your hourly wage will be far better than somebody who comes out of college with a master's degree and can't find a job in the area they're trained to do. Learn a skill.
Okay.
If you have sex, take care and wear protection or get a vasectomy. Vasectomies are reversible. So you got a bunch of years to decide.
Yes.
I don't want to hear in 9 months, 8 months, so-and-so's pregnant and we're getting married and now I got to pay child support. Don't want to hear it. Not going to babysit. Mm-hmm. Take care of yourself. Don't be so anxious for love in your life you confuse lust and love. There is a huge difference. And a girl that looks good at 18, 19, and 20, her looks are going to fade. Your looks are going to fade.
Yeah.
And if that's why you got with her and you don't have a personality that matches yours, your interests don't match. Because here's what I see.
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of young women, they see a guy, oh, I want to be with him. And they will tailor their personality to fit into your life and your family until they don't. And I see it with guys too. But you're a guy, so I'm telling you, beware of women. I think we've started these kids off too young, making them grow up.
Mm-hmm.
When they're 5, 6, and 7, and they're dressed like daddy in suits and mommy in cocktail dresses, let them be kids. 18 used to still be considered a kid. Now it's not. Part of it is y'all want to grow up, y'all want to be adults. You can't wait to adult. But how many of the 20, 30-year-olds come in here and say, well, I'm working. I got 3 roommates because I can't really afford a $3,000 apartment and the rents are going up. And, I want a better car, but I got to pay this. And then there's health insurance and car insurance and food and all the things you don't think about at 18.
It's a lot all at once.
I remember
it. I remember it. I was not happy.
No, it's not. And I see a lot of these kids come in and they'll tell me that a lot of them are taking classes for college online. Their whole degree is online, which I can't imagine. And I said to the girls, you're missing the social part of college.
Yeah.
And they go, yeah, but we'll get a degree. And that's the other thing I see after the pandemic. People who suffered through that pandemic, truly suffered through it, don't know how to look you in the eye and communicate anymore. They can text you on the phone if they're sitting in that chair, but look you in the eye and talk, they're very uncomfortable with that. And I think that's really sad.
That is sad. Okay. So let me ask the same question for
Again, because I didn't answer it.
For myself. Say I was a 36-year-old male, divorced, former owner of multi-million-dollar companies I built from scratch, took too big a risk, lost it, up, down, ex-convict, all kinds of stuff, and coming, finding myself again, getting back into dating. You see, I'm getting into comedy. We're starting the podcast. What kind of advice would you give me?
Get a day job.
Okay.
A regular day job.
Okay.
I don't care if it's 8 to 5, noon to 8, whatever.
Okay.
Something that you want to learn that you don't know.
Ooh, I actually really love that. That's a great answer. I want to plug one in here because you told me about this one time. We're out in the parking lot. You told me, and I looked him up the other night after I was here. BJ Thomas? Is that it? Okay.
Yep.
You, what was your, so you toured the country with him?
No, Midwest.
Midwest.
At that time, they were with Don Perry Productions.
Mm-hmm.
BJ had gotten off of heroin.
Uh-huh.
He has a lovely wife who had joined a church, and she pressured BJ to also join the church once he got clean, and he did. And so this was the period of time between him being a hardcore junkie and doing gospel music. There was a window there.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was wearing turtlenecks and sport coats, which his wife loved and his promoter hated. And he was doing the Midwest. And Don Perry I knew, and he called and said he needed somebody on the bus from the area to help the band out. And so for I don't know how many months during that tour, I just had to make sure the guys knew when rehearsal was, that they showed up. I had a car and knew the area, so I was the one that went to the store to buy things, presents for the wives, presents for the girlfriends, making sure the girlfriends' presents went to the girlfriends and the wives' presents went to and, all that kind of silly stuff. Yeah. And whatever else they needed, and I'll let you read into that what you want.
Uh-huh.
BJ at that time was clean. He was not partying with his band. Mm-hmm. So after the shows, he'd pretty much go to his room, call his wife, do whatever, have dinner. But he wasn't partying with the band guys who were partying hard.
Now, just for the audience members, and I can't remember the names of the songs, but I was reading some of the songs
Raindrops
he
Keep
wrote.
Falling on Your Head was Biggie at the time.
I mean,
Yeah.
this was not. He's a big deal at
He
this
was
time.
at the time.
And
He's dead now. So's his brother. He had a wonderful brother who'd had polio, and his brother ran the light and soundboard for all his concerts.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing they all did, BJ didn't, but all the rest of them did, was play poker on the bus. You know.
Yeah.
And I climbed on the bus one night, and his brother says to me, "Have you got $2,000?" And I went, "For what?" He said, "I want to make a bet." And I stood there and I said, "Give me a minute." Went and got him $2,000, headed it to him. He won. I got my $2,000 back plus a bonus.
You're kidding.
Oh. But I trusted him. The other guys in the band, I just said, "No way am I giving you $2,000 out on bet. Are you crazy?"
So I can't remember if you said this. What year was this?
Oh, God, you and your years.
The people want to know. The people want to know, Granny.
Had to be early 70s, but whether it was 71, 2, 3, or 4, I don't remember.
Okay.
I mean, yesterday seems like 1968. You want me to pinpoint a year.
Okay.
I'm not even sure I know what day of the week it is.
Well, I suffer from that same thing, actually. So as I won't put in any numbers out there, but as an oldie but goodie, the real OG, today living, what gets you up in the morning? What gives you satisfaction out of life? What are you enjoying most out of life right now?
I really enjoy our work at Crackers with the comedians.
Mm-hmm.
Gerry teaches the writing workshop, so I get to know all the comedians coming in. And I like that.
Yeah.
I enjoy it a lot. Some of them are absolutely wonderful, funny, hilarious. Some of them have promise. Some of them have problems. It's a real cross-section of humanity.
It is.
And I think all people who come into comedy are working on some kind of trauma. But I think almost everybody in the world has some kind of trauma.
That's life.
But we get an interesting mix, and I enjoy that.
That's great. Now, we call you Granny J here at Crackers.
Everybody calls me Granny J.
You're kind of like a grandmother to all of us, but I did want to mention before we close, you actually have a grandson who's one of my favorite comedians, and I was just curious if you had anything you could tell the audience about what's going on with him, how to look him up, how to see his comedy.
Jeff Goltz.
Jeff Goldska.
You'll find him. He's got YouTube videos, and I think there's TikTok videos, and there's Instagrams, and there's, whatever.
Okay.
Jeff will actually be here the 27th and 28th at Crackers, both Friday and Saturday night. He is performing with Gerry in the Cult Show.
And the dates for that is?
December 27th and 28th.
Okay.
It's the last weekend of the month.
Okay.
I wish I could just bubble over and tell you
what
he was
I'm
doing.
wanting to know.
Everybody wants to know, and I am not at liberty to say until after his performance
contract.
here.
Okay.
Unfortunately. Yeah. But I will say this. Look for him in Providence Town, Rhode Island.
Okay.
Look for him in Las Vegas. And look for him, I think he said L.A., but I could be, I think it was L.A.
Okay.
Over the course of the next year.
Okay.
And here at Crackers, too.
And he's on social media. People can find him.
Absolutely.
Jeff Golds. He's
right.
awesome. I mean, I love this guy. He's great.
And you didn't get to meet Peter Michaels Jr. yet.
I have not.
Peter was here a few weeks ago. Peter is in the band for the Michael Jackson Broadway show that is also going to tour the United States. So if that group comes to your town, you really want to go check them out. That's going to be a great
Michael Jackson Broadway show. And what was the name again?
Peter Michaels Jr.
Peter Michaels Jr. Got it. Okay, Audience, you heard it here first.
Right.
Well, thank you so much for doing this.
Well, thank you for coming to Crackers.
This means a lot. Anything else you want to give out to the world, or any advice? Anything?
If you want to be a stand-up comedian, contact Crackers. Let them know. They'll teach you a class. They'll give you some stage time, and you too can get up there and make people laugh.
You heard it here first, folks. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So, Sean, what'd you think of the second episode?
That was awesome. She's really interesting. I'm so glad we did this.
Granny J, she's one of my favorite oldies but goodies. Was so excited to have her. We had a great time. She cracks me up. Speaking of cracking me up, you can come see her at Crackers in Indianapolis. Her husband performs there all the time. He runs a workshop. And, support your local comedians.
That's right. And don't forget about this week's cause.
Yes, this week's cause, suicide prevention. If you or anyone you need is in help, do not suffer alone. Go to the AFSP.org for the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, and we'll also put in the suicide hotline as well.
Perfect. All right. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.